Welcome to EntreProgrammers Podcast, the podcast for developreneurs, the podcast where you get to be a fly on the wall listening to real conversations of three developers trying to tackle the challenges they face as entrepreneurs.
Hey, John Sunmez here. I just wanted to take a second to thank one of our wonderful sponsors, Dericks. It's no secret that I'm a big fan of Dericks. If you're looking to launch your own startup, then you should definitely check out Dericks App Builder. It's basically a cross-platform tool to create beautiful cross-platform mobile apps for iOS, Android, and Windows Phone using a really productive development environment. And it's a really cool tool. It uses PhoneGap and Cordova, a development environment, to create cross-platform apps in JavaScript. So you can use the skills that you already have to be able to build cross-platform apps. And they look really slick, really easy to use, something that I definitely think you should check out if you're interested in doing cross-platform mobile development. So check it out. Dericks, you can get there if you go to dericks.com/app builder.
Woohoo!
All right, we're live.
All right.
So,
I look for that little off-air to change to live, and then I start making noise.
there we go. So how are you guys doing this week?
Doing all right.
Horribly stressed. I'm basically taking the day off after the week that I've had.
Yeah, oh, that's good. Well, you need some of those, right?
Yeah, I did record a screencast this morning. I finished up the final screencast in my Rabbitmq with Node.js screencast this morning, which recorded tremendously smoothly after nearly throwing my Apple Magic Trackpad through a window. I mean, I had it in my hand in the air. I was so pissed at the stupid thing.
Nice.
It lost connection to my laptop, and it wouldn't connect again, and I had to go through all kinds of stupid to get it to reconnect. It took about half an hour of fiddling with it.
Yeah.
I friggin' hate Apple sometimes. A lot
Have
of
you
times.
Control-Alt-Delete on it?
Yeah, I mean, I did everything
kidding.
you can imagine. I SMC reset on my laptop, changing the batteries, unpairing it and repairing it, and just.
I had a fun Apple experience too this week. My MacBook Pro, right?
Yeah, with your screen, right?
So I videotaped it,
right?
Because that's what they said, because they had run the test and it passed and everything before. So I took it in, made another freaking appointment to do this, right? Because you can't just show up, right? Okay, so fine. So I showed them a video. They're like, we have to run the test again. This takes 15 minutes. I'm like, okay, all right, fine. It passes the test again. He's like, yeah, but I saw the video, so we'll send it off, right? So they send it off, and then I get a call from one of the techs there, and he's like, we ran it through the test, and you don't have the problem, right? And I was like, and he's like, but I know that you're having a screen flickering problem. But we ran some other tests, and we found that he said that the problem, the class action problem or whatever it is with this thing is with the main logic board. And he said, but you don't have that problem. But you do have a problem with your logic board that's causing video flickering. So we're going to have to replace it. And there's also a problem with your screen, the LCD screen. So we're going to have to replace that as well. And he's like, but it won't be covered under the program. It's not the defect. So I was like, what you're saying, it sounds really insane because you're telling me that you're going to replace the logic board, which is where the defect is, but this isn't the class action problem, but it's the same symptom and it's the same component that you're replacing.
Yeah, so sounds pretty shady to me.
Yeah. So I said, I'm sure you can understand, and he was like, and it wasn't bad. Okay, so I have to give Apple this, right? They're like, he was like, it would be $320 to do this. And considering they're replacing the LCD screen on a MacBook Pro Retina and a logic board on it, I'm like, okay, that's really not that bad.
Yeah.
On a $2,500 laptop, okay, I would pay that if it's good to know that if something did break and I was out of warranty and it was my fault or whatever, then. But I was like, look, I called in the first week I got this MacBook, and definitely within the year warranty. And he looked in the records and he's like, you did call within the year of the warranty. He's like, I can't do this. You have to talk to customer support and something,
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, this customer support person like gets on the phone and calls me up, and they're like, I understand that you want us to like pay for your service, like to give you to basically pay for the service for you, to make an exception for you or whatever, because
Right.
and is that right? That's what you want? And I was like, yeah. It's like, okay, no problem, let's do that. And like, so here's the thing though, I think I got special treatment. I don't think that's the norm, because the person gave me their email address, phone number, said if you ever have any kind of problem, like I have a personal connection at Apple support, like a high level rep.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that what they do,
Yeah.
I would do that if I were a big company, is I would go and I'd Google person's name, or they probably have some kind of clout-like their own clout
Right.
system, right? And they're like, if this guy, if we piss him off, is he going to like cause damage to us? I mean, they have to have a system like that, because
Right.
what happens if Mark Cuban, like the rep doesn't know they're talking to Mark Cuban?
No, yeah, every company in the world
Yeah.
that's big enough has that. We had that when I worked for Telerik.
Yeah.
We had a CRM system, so we knew who we were going to take care of, and we knew who the problem people were that we were just going to blow off, because it literally wouldn't matter what we did to help them, how much free stuff we gave them, they would just be pissed off at us all the time.
Yeah. So I'm assuming I got special treatment because of having a large tech following.
But good for you, man.
but so good for me. Like, and I'll just give Apple the benefit of the doubt that if that is just the standard level of customer service at that point, then that's really good. So they're supposed to be taking care of it.
It's definitely not.
It's not, yeah.
I've dealt with Apple. I've been with friends in the Apple store while they've dealt with Apple, and they're generally nice people.
Yeah.
I've never had never seen a bad experience with an individual person, although you hear stories about it. But that's definitely not normal.
Okay, yeah, that's what I figured. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. Like,
Right.
For me, yeah, okay, I'm happy about that. That I'll get
Yeah.
super support from Apple, but yeah, I can't say that their support is bad, because I had a good experience. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, I'm guessing that if like you Googled my name and nothing came up or something like that, I would have gotten a different. I don't think you would just automatically volunteer to waive $300 worth of fees.
Right.
So, which they shouldn't have had in the first place. So,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would hope that you can make your case and say, look, it had this problem within the first week, blah, 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 blah. Make it better. And they would say, oh, yeah, you contacted us, so we'll totally take care of it.
You would hope.
But,
I just think you'd have a fight, and then you'd eventually win.
This is the company that vehemently denied that holding your phone would make the reception go down.
Right.
I mean, they are not known for admitting problems and taking care of things.
Yeah, but that affects their PR and their stock price and everything else. I mean, these little one-off things, I could see them being nice just to keep customers happy, as long as it doesn't cost them too much or kill them off one way or the other.
Right.
So, who knows?
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, I tweeted some problem about my PC automatically restarting, and some guy immediately tweeted back. I don't even remember who it was. He was like, "Why you're using an inferior? You should just have a Mac. You should just." And I was like, I tried to respond nicely, and I was like, I have a Mac as well, and Apple has its share problems, and he was like, no, it doesn't. You should just throw your PC in the trash. And then I was like, and then so I replied back, and I was like, I try to not get too religious about technology. And he's like, you mean ignorant? You're ignorant. You should throw away your PC.
Wow.
And I was like, so I replied back, and I was like, we have different definitions of ignorance, buddy.
Yeah. Seriously. Wow.
I was like, man, I've never been so attacked for
Yeah. I mean, I'll be the first to tell you that Apple products have some serious flaws in them, and they drive me crazy.
Yeah.
I still prefer it, but that doesn't mean they're not without problems.
Yeah, I think the worst I do is I tell my mom, you're running new versions of Windows. That means I can't help you over the phone anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can help you with a Mac over the phone, Mom.
Exactly. Yeah, I've got. I mean, like I said, I've got my MacBook Pro. I've got my iPhone 6 Plus. I still have no idea how to actually use a MacBook Pro. I don't know, with Windows, right? I know
Right.
everything, right? I have it on my list to someday actually go through a tutorial on or read a book on because I can open up the file explorer and
Yeah.
you know, I'm admitting my ignorance, but there must be more like stuff to
Oh
it.
yeah, there is, and it took me a long time. I had the MacBook that Josh uses actually from TrackAbout. That was my MacBook. That was my very first MacBook, and I spent all day every day in Windows on that MacBook, so I never used the Mac OS. So like a year later, when I left TrackAbout, I bought myself a MacBook, and I forced myself to use Mac OS. I didn't use Windows on it except for virtual machines when I needed to do Windows stuff. And it took me a long time, like months, of figuring stuff out, Googling how to do things, and there are still things that Windows just flat out does better.
Yeah.
Like the window docking mechanism. You know, you got to buy an app to do that in Mac OS, and there are things like multi-monitor support that Windows still does better, and you know Mac is getting better with that. And I don't use multi-monitor anymore, honestly, because it's too much of a distraction. It makes it too hard for me. I just like my one giant monitor, but there certainly are things that Windows does better, and now at this point, I think there are things that Mac does better, including having a real command line with a bash shell. And being able to run virtual machines for Windows and Linux and whatever else that I need. So now I have, you know, a Mac. I can do everything a Mac does, but I can still do Windows and Linux just with virtual machines.
Exactly.
So I want to jump in here because I've been holding back, and I've been wondering this for a while and never asked it. But is that how you all know each other? Is because you all worked at TrackAbout?
Yep. Yeah, so I hired John. Actually, John followed his own advice that he gives to other people. He started commenting on my blog at Los Techies, and so we started chatting through there, and eventually started following each other on Twitter and started talking there. And then at some point down the line, he applied at TrackAbout. I was like, oh hey, I know John. I read his blog. Let's interview John. So I helped to bring John into TrackAbout. And then I left like 2 or 3 months after you joined. And then Josh came around shortly after I left. But it was because John and Josh were both at TrackAbout that they invited me to join their mastermind group.
Right.
So that was the connection that all three of us had originally, which was really nice because it gave us something in common, some base level of thing to talk about that we had in common, and helped to form our nice little group pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And like at TrackAbout, Josh, I was kind of one of the guys that hired Josh. And it was funny because he was way underqualified for the TrackAbout job.
Right.
But I was like, but Larry, like our boss, I was like, you got to hire this guy. He's like, I was like, seriously, like it doesn't matter what he knows right now. This dude will he will learn whatever. Like he's capable of learning whatever. Like this guy is sharp. Like you got to hire this guy, and so that I was really pushing for it because as soon as I had interviewed Josh, I was like, you know, he wasn't answering the questions like, you know, someone who had a huge amount of experience was.
Right.
But I was like, man, but the way that he like figures things out and finds it out and research and stuff, I was like, he's like a excellent hire.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was the.
Yeah, that's the connection.
That's funny.
And then
I wonder
along
if they're
comes
hiring. I could put up with them for a week.
Totally, you know. Then all four of us have been TrackAbout. Just go do some consulting for them, and
there we go.
Yeah.
Start using Ruby Motion.
Exactly.
I don't know.
But
so back to the original question of how was your week. So my week was I did the production deploy of my scheduling system that I've been working on for the last year at my client office, and it works. Yay!
Nice.
So the third largest healthcare organization in the country now has their nightly batch processes for their data warehouse and all of their financial reporting running through the scheduling system that I built.
Nice.
Which is pretty damn scary when you say it like that. Because holy crap! If that thing doesn't work, there's hell to pay. The good news is if it doesn't work, the team that I work with, they can go in and manually run all of these individual steps, because everything that we've scheduled into in the system right now is all just running through shell scripts, because that's what it's been for a really long time. They just had this old ancient COBOL-based mainframe scheduling system that was running the scripts previously. But within the first day of having the new system online, we already have like a 30% reduction in the time that it takes to run the complete schedule. Because the old system was just immovable. It was this behemoth of COBOL code that required weeks worth of meetings to change how the structure was organized, because it was all COBOL and it was just a nightmare to change. And so they went in, the guys I work with went in and updated they first took the existing scripts in the existing order that they ran things and brought it into my schedule and said, okay, this works. And then they went and reorganized things, because the system I built makes it really easy to do that. And so they were able to say, okay, these things are all going to run in parallel. These things won't. Here's your dependency tree for when they run. Then these other things will run in parallel. And just by running things in parallel, we're able to significantly reduce the amount of time it takes. So awesome. Big win right there already. Plus, it allows us to actually get rid of the mainframe system. The old scheduling system on the mainframe was one of the one or two things remaining that was keeping the mainframe around. And we had a hard deadline of the end of this month to get rid of to literally turn off the mainframe, unplug it, and it won't be around anymore. So
that's funny.
So yeah, that was the stress of my week, just leading up to that, getting things done, finishing up changes and fixes on Tuesday and deploying those, and waiting around on Wednesday and getting the new schedule in place, and then a 10-hour workday on Thursday, waking up at 4:30 in the morning, showing up at the office at 6 a.m. and staying there until 4 that afternoon. So yeah, I am exhausted.
So if they get rid of that mainframe, what are they going to do with the room that it's in?
Yeah, it's a good question. They're probably going to put more desks and have a break room or something. I don't know, but yeah, seriously, it is a very large box, or 12. They have arrangements for a semi to come and pick this thing up, pick up all the pieces, and haul it back to IBM. I mean, that's how big these old things are. And of course, all of they have new systems in place that replace everything the old mainframe did already. Mm-hmm. So everything is up and running on these new systems now, and including the scheduling system I built, which is a pretty awesome feeling, although it scares the crap out of me at the same time.
I just think it's funny that banks and some healthcare organizations and stuff, they have these huge mainframes. Yeah. And if they replaced everything it did, you could probably put most of that stuff in like one rack, right?
Yeah. Most of it. I mean, it's going to save the company like millions of dollars a year. No joke, millions of dollars a year in maintenance and support and everything associated with that old mainframe system.
Nice.
It was kind of funny listening to my coworker talk about making the call to the operations people to say shut down the schedule, because it was kind of a sad moment for them, because this is something that they built almost 20 years ago, like 1998, 1999, when the mainframe first came around and they started building the nightly batch processes in that thing. So it was a moment of putting Old Yeller out to pasture and pulling the trigger.
I'm thinking in my head of Hal,
totally
something like no,
I can't let you do that.
Shut the, yeah, exactly. Can't let you do that.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that I finished up the last screencast in the Rabbitmq series this morning. So I've got screencasts that go all the way through the middle of April now. So I have a couple of weeks to figure out what my next series is going to be and start recording it,
Nice.
which is a nice little break. I might actually be able to work on Signal Leaf again for a couple of weeks. But for this coming week, though, I got to finish up my talk for SpaceCityJS, where I'm doing the closing keynote on the 28th.
Cool.
Which is going to be pretty awesome. Be my first keynote, standing in front of the whole audience, the whole conference, and doing the closing talk. So I have the core structure. It's going to be similar to what I did in Winnipeg last month or beginning of this month, but I'm going to change it up quite a bit to be more focused on developers instead of the entrepreneurial side of things. I'll still talk about the entrepreneurial stuff, but it won't be as much of a focus.
Yeah. Cool.
So. Oh, and then I also started writing that ebook that I told you guys about on the list as a supplement to the Rabbitmq screencast series. I still like the idea that you guys had of transcribing all of the screencasts and turning that into a book, but I might do that separately. But I want to keep this one focused on the topology of the Rabbitmq structure.
Yeah.
Because that's something that you don't really see any discussion around, and I think it could have a lot of value. And I probably am going to do the $19 price point like you guys suggested, even though it's going to be a pretty short book. I think it'll be worth that. And then offering that as a bonus inside of the screencast package when I release that at the end of April, and as a subscriber benefit on the Watch Me Code site in general.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Just make sure you get the price high, right? It's like, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, for a package altogether,
Right.
Because like if there's, when I look back through our episodes of EntreProgrammers, like the one thing that I learned, like I got to see both you and Josh like release books at low price points and not make a lot of money from them, and then like I had the last mover advantage of saying, well, when I make a product, I'm going to make an expensive product, and that worked out well. So make sure that, I mean, the biggest thing that I think that I learned from our groups was make expensive products.
Yeah, totally. There's like 12 screencasts in this package, plus the ebook, plus the discounts that I'm giving to people for Cloud AMQP. They gave me a discount code for my subscribers and purchasers, plus the 2 discount codes for 2 Rabbitmq books from Manning Press, and I'm pondering getting a couple of interviews done.
Yep, just about.
And if I can do that, get some interviews around this, that could be, you know, a really nice $200 package.
Exactly.
My plan right now is probably $150 for the package. I'll probably have like a $99 package where you just get the screencasts.
Yeah.
And then $150 package where you get the screencasts, all of the extra bonus discounts, my ebook with it, and then probably a $200 package if I can score some interviews with people. Which is I certainly have contacts with people where I could do that. It's just a question of getting it done.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That sounds good. I mean, you might want to fix it or mess with the pricing structure, but yeah, if you can get something on the higher end, that will definitely be a benefit. And that's something that like I think paid advertising would actually work for, because you can directly, people searching for Rabbitmq, like it's going to be something that's very, very specific. So you could probably have a lot of success with that.
Yeah, I think this package is going to sell really well, though. It's going to require unfortunately, it's going to require a little bit of education in the marketing material.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to sell really well because it's become such a critical part of the work that I do. It's like I can't imagine building Express apps, web apps, without doing messaging infrastructure anymore.
Yeah.
The idea of, why would I send an email from the web app that I just built? I'm going to shove that onto a message queue and let some external process do that.
Yep.
Analytics, processing, any kind of long-running process where there's an API call. The Dropbox integration that I built with Signal Leaf, that's all RabbitMQ. Dropbox sends a webhook call to my website, but then I shove that onto RabbitMQ, and my background process pulls the request out of RabbitMQ and does the real work.
Yeah.
No way I'm doing that inside of the web application. So that's about it for me, I guess. I'm kind of in that stage of finishing things up and starting to put together the marketing material and thinking about how I can really maximize this thing.
Nice. Yeah, I'm getting buried this week. It's just crazy, like all kinds of stuff. It's my fault too, but there's just so much stuff that's coming up. I made a list and it's not even complete. Like I've got a bunch of things going on. Like I was talking about hiring, right? And I'm still trying to figure out, because I need to delegate and start outsourcing some stuff, even more so.
Right.
I'm actually hiring an SEM person to do paid advertising.
Nice.
And I've been interviewing this week, and I found actually two people. So I've got one guy that I've already hired him, and he's going to take the 10 Steps to Learn Anything Quickly course. Mm-hmm. And he's just gonna he knows enough about creating a funnel and all that it has no landing page. I've never officially launched the course, even though I'm selling the course. Right. But he's gonna put the entire thing together, including an email sequence, and he's gonna put the landing pages together, and he's gonna open up paid advertising campaigns for it.
Nice.
So this is kind of a trial project, because this guy could potentially be someone who I work with like long term, because if he's got the skills to do all of it end to end, he could be a huge asset. So instead of just having him manage my SEM for how to market yourself as a software developer, I said, well, let me put him on this project solo, all by himself. Just see what he can do. And if he's successful with this, his goal is to bring it to, about $10,000 a month worth of revenue on just the 10 steps course. If he can do that, then he's an extremely valuable asset.
Definitely. So I've actually done a little bit of that as well. Forgot about this, but I hired Momoko from Kanban.io to take all of the information, all of the user content reviews, user reviews and interviews and stuff that she did for Watch Me Code, and she's going to be implementing all of the recommended changes for me on the Watch Me Code website.
Nice.
So we got this. She got me connected with an account on hotjar.com. I think you guys saw something about that a couple of weeks ago from either John or Josh.
Hotjar.
Yeah, hotjar.com.
Oh yeah.
It's a they claim unlimited insights from your web and mobile sites, and so it tracks like literally everything a user does on your website, and allows you to do funnels and reports on the funnels and heat maps, and it'll record where people move their mouse and what they type into your website and whatnot, and so you can go back and see everything that people are doing on your website. So we've had that running on Watch Me Code for about a week now, and it's producing some pretty amazing results already. So Momoko is totally taking over the marketing message and onboarding funnel and process for Watch Me Code. I'm friggin' excited about it, because with the quality material that she produced on both Signal Leaf and on the Watch Me Code reports that she generated for me, I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to turn Watch Me Code into at least $5,000 a month business.
Nice.
Probably in the next 3 to 6 months.
That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. I just signed up for the Hotjar thing. I really need that now.
I'll send you an invite. They have betas like on a waiting list right now. I'll send you an invite.
Perfect. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, the other one I've seen that does similar things is Heap Analytics.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Which email address do you want, John? Just paste it into the chat window or something.
Oh, yeah, the Gmail one is probably.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm hiring another guy, an SEM guy. Like, I interviewed a bunch of people at different hourly rates. Like, the guy that I found, I think, is like $60 an hour. So fairly expensive for an Odesk hire, but he seemed to be like, I did some pretty thorough interviews, and there was like $100 an hour guy that was mostly focused on Google, but this guy, he was like taking real good notes, and he like wanted to look at my Google Analytics, and so I think he can, I also the other process I did with this is I made 2 calls on Clarity FM to SEM experts that were way out of my price range, right?
Right.
And I said, how would you hire someone? What would you look for? What kind of things?
Nice.
You know, so I paid maybe they were charging one guy was charging $5 a minute for his time or something.
Right.
Or, no, three something. Another guy was $1 something a minute. And so I ended up paying a couple $100 on Clarity just to get advice, which was well worth it because it set me up for hiring off of Odesk the right people. And so the guy I've got, I haven't hired him yet, this other guy, but he's going to take How to Market Yourself, and he's going to what we're going to do is we're going to pump people through my blogging course funnel.
Nice.
Because that already works. So let's just do that to start with. And I mean, the idea here is, can we 7x to 10x this?
Right.
Because right now that funnel is generating $10,000 a month of revenue approximately. So if we can 10x it, I'll be at my $100,000 a month revenue goal, right? Which just seems insane, but it's possible, right? I mean, this is all still in the air, but I'm trying to think big, and that's what I really do think that it's possible to. I'm not doing any paid advertising, and that funnel is generating, like I said, about $10,000 a month. So if we send paid advertising to it, can we 7x this? Can we 10x this? I think possibly yes. So especially if I've got a good expert. So I've got that going on, and that was crazy trying to filter through all the people on Odesk, and if this doesn't work out for some reason, I'm going to go with an agency. That was what a lot of the experts recommended. They're like, you'll pay more for an agency, but you can find someone that you can trust.
Yeah.
So that's a possibility there, but I got to get into paid advertising. It's just ridiculous that I'm not doing paid advertising at this point. I'm also working on ClickBank to get through their affiliate network. So that's why when you guys looked at my DPD account, you saw that I was using up so much space. It's because I had to create a second DPD account on there, or a second store, so I could have a ClickBank one, because ClickBank has to be your only. So ClickBank's this huge affiliate network, right? And you can sell products on there and stuff. And I'm getting access to their affiliate network is really the big thing with that. And so if I can get access to that affiliate network and have a lot of people selling my product, that's really really good. So I'm expanding in that front as well, and that basically costs me nothing to do, just commissions. And then one cool thing about ClickBank is you can do these upsells, instant upsells, or one-time offers. So you can do up to 3 of them in your funnel. So when someone signs up or buys your thing, you can send them. You can say, "Would you like to buy 10 Steps to Learn Anything Quickly course? Would you like to buy this audio I recorded about the best ways to use How to Market Yourself as a software developer for $29? Or would you like to buy this?" And so you can those things just add to the bottom line. You can throw out those one time, and then it's single click purchase, right? Because they've already put in their credit card information with ClickBank, so all they have to do is say yes, and they get the thing,
right?
Which is extremely powerful. So
it is.
I'm still working on getting ClickBank set up and getting approved because I have a higher priced product, but that's kind of the plan there. And then I came up with all these ideas. Now that I'm running 6 miles instead of 3, I have this
all this time
idea
to think.
factory.
Yep.
I actually ran a half marathon last weekend.
Yeah, I got your email. That was pretty amazing.
I just decided to do it.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's 2.5 hours of running.
Jeez.
Had a lot of.
I can't do 2.5 minutes.
But yeah, I mean, I've been running 5K for 3 times a week for years, right? You guys have heard me, and now I just broke through this barrier, and I realized that I need to break through a lot of barriers in my life. I have limiting beliefs, so that's what I'm doing. So I came up with some really good ideas, I think. One of them is my productivity process, right? And I always recommend people to go to Kanbanflow, and I'm kind of hybriding that with the Pomodoro approach, right? And I wrote about it in Soft Skills, and I did videos on it and blog posts, and those have all been super popular. People are always really interested in. I mean, Chuck, you were talked about it a couple times on some of your podcasts too, and I don't know if it's been successful for you or not, but
Yeah, when I stick to it, it is.
Yeah, right.
But people are really interested in this thing, and so I thought, well, wait a minute. I was listening to 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Like I listened to it 2 times in the last couple of weeks, and I was like, well, Franklin Covey, his whole thing was
Stephen Covey.
Yeah, or sorry, the company, right? Isn't that?
Oh yeah, the company is Franklin Covey.
So the whole thing was planning, right? Is organizers, and so I was like, this is a huge market. Why don't I just take, instead of using Kanbanflow, right, which I'm adopting to my system with the days of the week and stuff, why don't I've got specs on exactly how a thing should be built to do this. This is a task, I could go out there and hire a programmer on Odesk, and I could say, watch this video, read this chapter in my book, and I could give them minimal instruction, and I could have someone creating this product for me as a software as a service product, right? Mm-hmm. And people would be all over it. At least I think so. My audience would be, because it's in my book, and this is a popular topic. People have gone to Kanban. I don't know how many people have like adopted the process on Kanbanflow. A lot of people tell me they're using it. So I think if I made it exactly what the process is, that I could, I don't know. What do you guys think? Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah.
Yes.
It sounds like a phenomenal idea.
Okay.
It's the perfect situation for you to be in, because you want this software. You want it to work exactly the way you want it to work.
Yeah.
Instead of having to mash up all these different things together and cobble it together and make it work, it would be something that works the way you want. And clearly other people are using the same system that you're doing, so there's a market there. You've already proven that there's a market there because you sent however many people to your site. You know that this is a market that people are interested in, because people are going to the places you're suggesting, and using the system that you're recommending. You've got validation for this product already. It's
right.
Not like you need to go out and do a whole bunch more research to see if this is something that people would actually buy. This is something that you need to build and just get it done, because people will buy it.
Yeah, exactly. So and I can do it hands off. I don't really have to be that involved, because I've already defined it so much. It's very clearly there. Sometimes when you come up with an idea for a software as a service, it's a big, like, I have a general idea, but I have very almost exact specifications that I can show someone. I don't have to even come up with mock-ups, because I can be like, just like, here's how I use it.
Right.
That thing. So I mean, I need to carve out a little bit of time to do that, but I think that's going to be my SaaS product.
Nice.
You can actually manage the work in Kanbanflow.
Right,
exactly.
Totally.
until it's bootstrapped enough
that you can manage the work for it in your own product.
It's like, when you get a compiler for a new language, and it's like written in C or assembly, and then like that self-genesis moment where it's like the Go compiler now could be.
Yeah, CoffeeScript is written in CoffeeScript now.
Exactly.
The first version of CoffeeScript was written in Ruby, but eventually CoffeeScript became self-aware, and now CoffeeScript is written in CoffeeScript.
Yeah, but it sounds like what you're writing is a SaaS product that's built around managing your time, not necessarily managing a project. Though I could see it, you are adopting project management styles, from Kanban and from other things. It's just, your workflow is a little bit different from pull stuff out of the backlog and work on it.
Right.
But anyway, with the people who are reading your book, the people who are on your mailing lists, the people who, are interested in how you get everything done that you get done. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you have a product like that, I think you have enough reach to do a launch and pull it off. Mm-hmm. So it's not just, well, I'd really like this, and so I'm going to put it out there, and then hopefully other people want it.
No,
I think you really can. Right. And the other thing is as you're building it, you can open up 10 spots or 20 spots for beta people to get in, and then you can really figure out what the critical things are for the market that's going to buy in. Because you'll have your early adopters jumping on board, and you can find them, you can get them in. Where other folks, they go into a vacuum for 2 years, get a bunch of funding, they build a product, and then, oh my goodness, nobody wants it. So
Yeah, I think I could launch us with like 2,000-3,000 MRR right from the get-go.
MRR.
Totally. Monthly recurring revenue.
Uh-huh.
Totally could.
Because I think I've got the audience to do it and the credibility. So that to me it's almost, I was like, man, I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner, and the fact that I don't have to be super involved in the creation of it, like the development, makes a lot of sense. The other thing I was thinking about this is I want to do this like Basecamp style, right? Like I'm not going to try and compete with Trello or Kanbanflow.
Right.
What I'm going to do is this is going to be a tool that specifically implements my process, right? Specifically. So it'll be tailored to that. It won't have all these fancy bells and whistles. It'll be a very simple tool that exactly does what it's supposed to do and nothing more. And I've got that very clearly defined. So So that was a big one. The other one, not quite as big of an idea that I have, is I was thinking badges for the blogging course.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
that'd be fun.
Right.
So I've already got people that are like, when you go through a blogging course, lesson 5 is like, write an email and or write a blog post. And I've had hundreds of people write blog posts about the blogging course, which is cool. And they're linking back to me and stuff, and it's generating more traffic. Like more people are signing up from those blogs and stuff. But what if I could create a really cool looking badge that's like, you're a simple programmer blogging course graduate.
Nice.
And then you put that on your site, and then it's cool because like it's kind of the stamp of approval. It's an accomplishment. People are proud of the fact that they've created their blog and they've done this thing, and then it's like it's something that will become visible, will be on it, every page of someone's site, as opposed to just one, and I think that could be a huge value. So, and it's simple, right? All I have to do is hire a designer to design this really cool looking badge, and then I create the markup for them and just make a page on there, or like at the end of the email course, say, put this HTML on your site, and bam, you've got this. So, but yeah, that's another idea. And then let's see, what else was I doing? So I just last night I emailed all these studios because I want to start shooting professional video. So I emailed videographers and stuff, and I'm gonna try and rent a studio for a day, once a month, with a video person, and just shoot all my videos then.
Right. And
then I can make every single video high quality video, instead of what I'm doing now, where I'm doing one. So I'm in the process of doing that. That might be fairly expensive, but I think it'll be worth it because my YouTube channel is growing like gangbusters. It generates about $100 a month in ad revenue right now.
Nice.
But it's growing, right? And it's growing by 30% to 40% every month. So at that rate, subscribers are at 3,700. I gained 700 subscribers to the YouTube channel in the last month.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah, and it's consistently 30%, month over month growth. So,
right.
If I have a feeling that it'll, I can get that up there. So, the other thing I did this week is I converted my blog over to a new theme, which Derek.
Yeah, so that.
I just want to rip it apart, man.
No, take a look at it now.
Okay.
I fixed it. With just CSS.
Nice. That homepage looks so much better with only 2 columns.
I did it myself. I'm
nice.
proud to say I programmed something this week.
Yeah, I still hate the infinite scroll because now your footer is useless.
Well, but you know what? Infinite scroll is awesome because it reduces your bounce rate.
You have to get rid of that footer then. You have to put all that information up at the top of the site.
Well, the footer works on static pages. So if you go to the podcast page, right, then the footer is there. So,
yeah.
Plus, it gives something for someone. It gives you something to chase.
No, that just pisses me off, and everyone else has to look at it.
All right, I did make the logo smaller size for that.
That's so much better on the individual page.
Yeah.
Instead of taking up a third of my screen, it's about half an inch now.
I left it there because it's important because of the share thing, and there's not another way, and that's built into the theme. By the way, this theme, this Thrive theme that I've got, it's lightning fast. It's like 3 times speed increase. Like I don't know why I was messing around with that other theme trying to make it faster when the answer was to, I found this theme that is optimized for it. I haven't even put in all this stuff like the opt-ins and stuff this theme basically is lightning fast. It has the opt-ins built into it, so I don't need like opt-in monster and all those plugins and stuff. I'm getting rid of all those. It has image optimization built in, so I got rid of that plugin. It has sharing built in, so I got rid of that plugin. It has a ton of stuff built in, and it's all designed to be super fast.
Nice.
And designed for internet marketers.
Right.
So I'm really impressed. Like this is, I think this is going to be huge for the blog.
Yeah, it's looking a whole lot better. There's still some issues. Like I'm looking at the our ads on your blog generally frowned upon video page.
Yeah.
And when I scroll all the way down below the comments and get to the related posts, it's doing some really wanky stuff here.
It's a widget that like is a fixed widget like this that I've got. I have to fix that because I wanted the book to show up all the time.
Right.
But I have to fix it, and the book's not even clickable.
When your related posts is literally the infinite scroll of your entire blog, it's not really related posts anymore.
Yeah, it's part of this theme. It's like a magazine theme. And I like it just because like there's so much, like you could just keep on scrolling and find something that interests you.
Nobody will ever do that though. It's overwhelming. I mean, at best, it's overwhelming.
Well, I don't know. I'm gonna experiment with it and see.
Get Hotjar installed on there, and let Hotjar tell you how many people actually click on those links down there.
Exactly. I mean, I've got the Google Analytics heat map on there too, and it's showing some. We'll see, but yeah, I'll definitely put that on there, and I'll see. I mean, right now my bounce rate has dropped significantly since I've implemented this. So that's the thing, and now people are viewing an average of 2 pages per session, as opposed to like it was 1.3 before. Yeah. So
it's a really nice theme at this point. You did good with this one, that's for sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, I am gonna send you a sketch of a couple of things, but
okay, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that still needs to be fixed for sure. So
yeah.
But I'm happy that I was able to switch over in like one day. Oh, it's weird that what you just sent me. I think if you Control-Shift-J and so that your caching is off and reload the page, it'll disappear. I think that's a local caching problem.
Control-Shift-J.
What were you seeing?
I'm talking about opening the developer Chrome tools.
Oh.
Chrome developer tools, and then like because that turns off caching. Like
those garbage characters over there. Either John is going Zolgo on us, or it's just strange browser cache.
Are you seeing the garbage characters as well, Derek?
No, but I did have to clear my cache to get things to show up. It's a web font, is what it is.
Yeah, that's
the Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus links at the top next to the search box.
I see.
It's so that your browser is not getting the web font interpreted appropriately. But if you clear your browser cache, for me, just on a Mac, I hold down Shift and hit refresh.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I think doing the same in Windows should work. Hold down Shift when you hit refresh, and it'll force it to.
Oh, it's pretty now. Okay.
Okay, so I need to figure out how to put a cache buster on that for a one-time to get everyone's cache busted, but. Anyway,
but it looks great, and I started blogging a month or two ago, but I was doing it I was using Jekyll. Yeah. I'm really tempted to move back to WordPress just because you get all these nice goodies.
That's the whole reason I did. I mean, it took Josh and John months of convincing me to switch off of Jekyll onto WordPress, and I'm never going back.
Yeah, I have issues with WordPress, but.
I do too. Today's piss me off moment with WordPress is you can't change your username. They have so much stuff built into WordPress that relies on your username being encoded into various things that you literally are not allowed to change a username. So if somebody wants to change a username, like one of my Watch Me Code subscribers does, he has to cancel his current account and create a new one to get a different username.
Yeah.
So there certainly are things that frustrate the crap out of me with WordPress, but far above and beyond the frustration is everything that it does for me to make my life so much easier.
Yeah, and I mean, and like I said, like as far as the speed, if you got the right theme, now
Right.
I've learned that it makes a huge.
Not having 1,000 plugins.
Yeah. So I'm really happy with the conversion over. Like I said, I still have some work to do. I've bought so many WordPress themes.
Yeah.
Oh man, me too.
But I was going to go with Genesis, but then I'm like, this is better, this is faster, this is like...
Yeah, it's more targeted at what you're doing.
Exactly. And wait till I put the opt-ins. They have
Right.
ridiculous like features, and it's totally customizable. It's designed for internet marketers, like for lead capture.
Yeah.
So this is like going to be, I think this is going to be really sweet. I also had a nice week that 11 rules all programmers should live by.
Yeah.
That post went pretty viral. It didn't make Lifehacker like the other one. But what it did was it did 33,000 page views in the second day it was published.
Nice.
So it went viral on Twitter, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's got, like, if you look at it, like, it's got 1,035 shares.
Wow.
So that's good. So now I've hit 2 home runs in the last, and it is kind of like I used the same technique I did with my previous one that went viral, like that Joel test one.
Yeah.
It's essentially 11 steps. I'm also using the term programmers. I'm going to do a video or blog post about this, like, because I did Google Trends analysis, and I was like, which is better? Like, once and for all, should I be writing software engineers, software developers, or programmers?
Right.
And those are probably the 3 most common titles, unless I'm missing something else, right?
I think that covers it.
And so I've always wondered, and I've kind of mixed it, and the answer is clearly programmers.
Interesting.
That gets by far the most search traffic.
Oh, cool. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So programmers is the term. I personally like software developer best, but programmers is still the one. But yeah, so that was pretty good. I got obviously a ton of email signups from that as well, and now with the increased Bluehost affiliate commissions, I'm sitting at pretty nice, like, for Bluehost commissions for this month. I think I'm sitting at $1,945 so far.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just on Bluehost. And I've sold about, like, I'm at like almost $6,000 of how to market yourself for this month. So
nice.
So this is now the 3rd month in a row. So I've got a pretty solid, I could pretty solidly say that thanks to Drip,
Yep.
that blogging course, and you guys encouraging me to do that blogging course, it is basically worth somewhere between $7,000 to $10,000 a month to me, that blogging course. So
wow.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. So.
Win!
Yep.
Total win. That's amazing.
But now I'm just buried in stuff. I've got, like, just ridiculous amounts of stuff. I'm trying to delegate all this stuff. I'm trying to, like I said, record HD videos, switched over to the blog, hire people, to catch up with the emails. It's
a full-time job trying to not have a full-time job.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Wow. Well, I can totally identify with being buried. I mean, I kind of came off of the conference insanity that I went through for about 6 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And, so now I'm trying to finish up this Kickstarter campaign, which right now is sitting at about $3,300 in backers. But I set the goal of $5,000. I have 6 days to go, so I'm a little concerned about it funding.
Right.
But I have 84 backers. I don't know how many of those are people who are backing it because they like my shows versus people who actually want Rails clips.
Does it matter?
Not really. If it funds, I'm just saying that number doesn't necessarily indicate the number of people who would sign up for the videos if the Kickstarter campaign doesn't fund.
Right. I'll tell you, I have people that still email me on a fairly regular basis, a couple times a month, to say, I love what you're doing with everything. I signed up for Watch Me Code just to help you out. I don't actually watch the videos.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're paying me a monthly fee because they like all the stuff that I'm doing, and thank you, people like that. I love that because that's awesome. I mean, it really is.
Yep. So I'm figuring that probably most of these people would, back a video series even if they're not interested in Rails.
Yeah.
Just because these are probably the biggest fans of what I do. So.
Totally.
So what can we do to push this out to make sure you hit this goal?
So I'm going to reach out to a bunch of people and see if I can get a bunch of people tweeting about it on Monday. The only concern I have then is it's 3 days to go. So I need them all to be saying, hey, you need to back it now.
You need to reach out to them today.
Yes.
And on Sunday. Get the initial contact today. I mean, this is a launch campaign.
Yeah.
This is you launching them, helping you launch. But you really contact them today, make sure that they know what's going on, contact them again on Sunday to make sure that they have everything ready for Monday, and then Monday morning, ask them, like, hey, really start hitting it hard.
Yeah. Yeah, because it seems like every time I tweet about it or get somebody else to tweet about it, I get a handful of backers.
Right.
So if I can get enough people who others follow to back it up, then that could really pay off, I think. But yeah, so I'm kind of excited about that. I honestly think that I think I can get it funded. I just think it's going to be a close thing. So.
Yeah. It's weird with the Kickstarter. It's such a
it's all marketing and popularity. I mean,
yeah, but I was so buried that I didn't take any time to promote it, and now I'm at the end and I'm like, okay, how can I promote it and get it to pay? So I think that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm just going to reach out to folks. I like the idea of reaching out to them reaching out to them today and then reaching out to them again.
Right.
So yeah, I'll definitely do that.
Multiple points of contact will make it more likely that they'll actually remember to do something to help.
Yeah. So I like that idea. And then the other big thing that I'm working on, besides client work, and I've decided that I'm going to stick around in client work for a little longer than I had originally wanted to.
Right.
And mainly it's because I've got this client that is willing to kind of go above and beyond. In other words, I think I can not only buy my freedom by sticking through this contract at least through the end of the year, but I can actually put a bunch of money in the bank and pay off all my debt.
Nice.
So then I get to a level of total freedom, or at least closer to total freedom, right?
Right.
And so that seems worth it to me to do. And then if they're still wanting work after that, then I can make arrangements so that I find them people and subcontract them, and I'm involved that way, or maybe I am still doing some development for them, but on a scaled back level so that I can do the other things that I want to do.
Right.
But yeah, I'm super happy with that. But yeah, I've got one contract that I'm either going to finish up probably next week, I think, is when I'm going to get at least the parts of the work that I have to get done finished. And that just sets up my client to be able to finish all the stuff. He's a front-end guy, and so I've been doing a lot of the back-end work and coaching him on some of the stuff that he's still learning about Ruby on Rails. But
nice.
Yeah, so I'm getting stuff off of my plate. I'm probably going to be looking for some lower-cost alternatives to get some other work done that I have. Stuff that it's kind of too menial to pay Mandy to do, because she's really good at some things, and then, anyway. So I'm looking at doing that kind of stuff, and then I have a list of things, and I don't know what I did with it, so.
I know, I had to make a list. I was like...
Yeah.
I should have made a list. I got so many things to say.
But the remote conference, I think, is going to do me pretty well. I just need to get the website up so people can order.
Right.
And I decided that I'm going to use the same layout that I did for JS Remote Conf. I'm just going to change the colors so that instead of the JavaScript yellow, it's going to be Ruby red.
Nice.
But I need to get that up pretty quick here, just because it was nice to have money trickling in until the conference started. So
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm going to do an early bird this time. I think I'm just going to say, hey, it's going to be $200. Go for it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense.
This episode of the EntreProgrammers is brought to you in part by the Telerik platform at telerik.com/platform. The Telerik platform allows developers to build, connect, test, and deploy cross-platform mobile applications using nearly any approach, web, hybrid, or native. With tools like the App Builder to create mobile apps with HTML and JavaScript, control suites for Windows, Android, and iOS, and powerful management tools like Telerik Analytics and App Manager, you're sure to find what you need. With powerful tools of the Telerik platform, the UI tools, and so much more that it provides, you will be able to create outstanding user experiences. So check it out and try the Telerik platform today at telerik.com/platform.
But yeah, and I totally agree with buying your freedom. Like, if you can do it through this contract, paying off your debt. Because once you pay off your debt, then the amount of money you need to have your freedom is lowered permanently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, do what you got to do in order to do that, and then, and then you can buy your freedom just like me, where now you're a slave to your own stupidity, I suppose.
Exactly.
I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, but I seem to thrive on it. I don't know. It's
addiction, man. It really is. It's the little endorphins that get released whenever you have these tiny little successes, and there's always something else. There's always another level of success. Did you guys read Avdi Grim's blog post about how he finally made it?
Nope.
It's what's his blog? I know it's avdi.org. Journal.avdi.org, and it's his Exit Zero post. It's a really, really, really inspiring post, honestly. It has nothing to do with technology, but it's perfect for people like us that are trying to, quote unquote, make it. And he talks about in this post his life goals for the last 15 years, and checking off that last checkbox in his life goals to have accomplished what he wants in his life and be at the point in his life where he can relax, he can take the time, he can do all these other things. He bought his freedom. He worked his way out of the corporate life and of the debt life, and has found his freedom, and his last checkbox was moved to the house in the mountains that he bought, which he did this week. And it's amazing seeing him tweeting now, because I've been following him on Twitter for a number of years, and I've never seen him happier. Like, his tweets are all inspiring, happy things about his new house and the life that he's built for himself.
That's awesome.
This post at journal.avdi.org, his Exit Zero post, well worth reading.
Damn it, now you just add something to my list, and I'm not talking about reading the post, because now I have to interview him on my YouTube channel, because that's the perfect message for my audience.
It really is. Yeah. Absolutely is. You really
need
to set up that interview with Avdi.
I'm sure you guys can help me out with that.
Chuck will get you.
Yeah.
I don't know Avdi very well, but...
Yeah, not at all.
So but this is right in line with what I've been thinking. I don't have a list. I've kind of made lists over the years, but I don't have one that I've actually kept.
Right.
But just the idea that I can basically say, okay, I don't think any of us are wired to the point where it's like, okay, we get to the point where we have enough residual income to where we're just kind of going to sit around, right?
Right.
So
because honestly, I could do that if I wanted to right now, and I don't want to do that.
Right.
And that's what I dreamed of doing for a long, long time, right? And I was like, and I got there, and then I'm like, well, that's not really what I want to do.
Right.
So,
but the thing is that I would like to get to the point where it's, okay, so do I really need to do this?
Yeah.
My son needs help with his math homework. Do I really need to work right now? No.
Right.
Or I've got this project going and I do need to put the work in on it, but there are other things that I can push off a little bit. to get the margin that I need to take care of whatever I need to take care of.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the goal, right? I don't think any of us have this in our heads where we're going to go quit working.
No.
Yeah. I'd like to get to the point where I could quit working for a period of time. It's not okay. So financially is not my problem now, right?
Right.
Like financially, I could quit working right now and I'd be okay, and I could live out the rest of my life okay, right?
Uh-huh.
But the problem right now is collapsing my empire, right? So I can't quit working because if I do, all the momentum I have and everything that I'm building will fall.
Right.
So I'm doing a lot of stuff I don't want to do right now, right? And it's because of that momentum, and that's the thing, is it's like, because I want to get to the next level, not because I need to be financially free, but at this point because I've built this much momentum, I don't want to see this go to waste. I've put my life and my love into this work that I'm doing, but I'm still not to the point. Like I still have this other dream of like, okay, I want to build this business up. Like I said, I want to get Simple Programmer up to this goal of probably like $100,000 a month revenue. This kind of, and it's kind of an arbitrary number, but that to me that spells like a really big success, and where you don't even where financial considerations start to really get not considered as much, right? And so I want to get to that point, and then do that through a lot of delegation, where I have some people working for me, where I'm able to sustain that level without me really being directly involved in the business all the time, maybe like 5 to 10 hours a week, and then I can really start pursuing some other things that are not financially related at all, right? And not related to the momentum. Like I still want to do some game development just because I want to do it for fun,
right?
And stuff like that. And right now I don't have the freedom to do that kind of stuff, just because, like I said, I mean, it sounds silly, but it's momentum. It really, it's like my biggest fear, because I went through this like a couple weeks ago. I was talking about with my wife. I'm like, I'm just going to shut it down and leave the internet.
Right.
I'll be happier. Like I don't want to do this. I have to wake up today and do this stuff that I don't want to do. And not that I, but the reason why I was feeling that way is because, but then I'm like, but wait a minute, I don't want to leave behind all this work that I've done. Like if I just collapsed all this stuff, it just seems kind of pointless. So I'm kind of renewed now with new energy, saying, okay, I'm going to delegate. I'm going to get this stuff done. I'm going to take things to the higher level. And it's not going to be a never-ending journey, but I want to get to the point where I can switch over and do what I totally want to do and not feel like I'm leaving something behind. I don't know if any of that makes any sense at all. Maybe I just sound like an idiot.
That's totally where I'm at.
Okay.
Because, like you're saying, it's not that I want to quit working and I've got all of this stuff that I've built and I care about a lot of it, but in order to keep it going, I wind up doing a lot of things that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And so the idea of being able to basically keep the beast happy without having to do all the stuff that I don't like to do. I mean, I just hired a bookkeeper this last week because I'm tired of trying to keep track of all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so, it cost me a few $100s a month, and it's totally worth it. And so, just moving that stuff off my plate, at this point, I'm trying to find a little bit more financial margin to do more of that, and, just make that work. But, I mean, ultimately, I want to free things up so that I can do what I want to do. So if I want to go work on FeedWrench, great. If I want to go hire somebody to work on FeedWrench, great.
I still want you to get FeedWrench done soon, please.
It's on the list, but
come on.
Okay, let me throw this idea out here. I kind of mentioned to you guys like offline, but I wanted like just a thought exercise, right? What would it look like if we all, I'll say 4 of us because Josh isn't here, but what if we all combined our businesses into one business, right? Like what would it look like? You know, just a hypothetical, because I've just been thinking about this, because we're working on so many projects. Like I feel like each one of us has like multi-million-dollar ideas, but we don't have the resources to work on them. I feel like a lot of the things that we're doing, it's kind of split focus. Like we just don't have the And combined, like all four of us, the traction and audience and channels that we have is ridiculously huge, right? Between our blogs and podcasts and all of these things, if we combine them into one empire, the first question would be, would we be able to generate enough money just with where we're at right now to pay each of us essentially salaries that would be acceptable? Right. You know, and obviously there's some imbalance in some incomes and things like that, but
only a lot.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, like for me, like you take my Pluralsight off of the table, right? Because that's not really part of the simple programmer business. Right.
So, but still, I mean, you're doing like 10 or 15,000 a month in sales. I'm getting that with client work, but I'm bringing like $4,000 or $5,000 otherwise.
Yeah, well, but the thing is what if you were able to focus your energy into, you know, the overall thing instead of, you know, into client work?
But would that mean shutting down Watch Me Code?
No, not necessarily, right? It might mean that we each contribute one video a week or something like. Right. It might mean what it would look like to me. Like, you know, again, I'm in the hypothetical, but this is worth like spitballing for a bit here, because, you know, and I guess I could be the one to suggest it, because like you said, if you know, if anything, I've got the higher income on the simple programmer. Yeah. So, but I'm open to the idea, at least thinking about this, because what I would think is like, what you know, we'd say immediately, what we'd say is, what is the most profitable thing that we could invest resources in that would generate the highest revenue for the entire company, right? And we'd figure that out. I don't know what that is. It might be one of our existing things, and we're like, okay, yeah, let's pump up advertising. Let's pump up advertising into this thing, or you know, maybe it's my funnel for the how to market yourself. Maybe that makes the most sense. And like, how if we were all working on that, could we jump that thing up to like $30,000-$40,000 a month revenue? Maybe we could, right? And then there's the other thing that you like employees, like hiring, right? We could hire, like, obviously then you know, a couple of full-time people that could work. I mean, we could possibly go and maybe we just keep things status quo right now, where like, would we start off like, Derek, you're still doing your consulting, and Chuck, you're still doing some of your bits, and but now we're kind of working together on different pieces of different things, and then, you know, you could get to this point where we suddenly like we become 4 employees in this company, and we immediately hire 5 people, and we're like a 9-person company that's able to do like massive things. I don't know, because there's a lot of ideas that we all have, like even the podcast recorder idea, right? Yeah. Right. If we could execute on that thing, that's a multi-million-dollar idea by itself. Yeah. So I feel, I mean, there's some risk involved, right? But maybe we could come up with some kind of legal agreement or some kind of thing where we try it for a year, and we can separate if it doesn't work out and still retain our individual assets, or whatever it is. But I don't know. I've been thinking more and more about this.
Well, it's like the guy, I can't remember his name, commented on a bunch of our episodes recently, and then one of the comments basically said that Chuck and I are like the 2 people from the show Friends that were. No, they were always trying to get together, but never could quite get together, and you're always wondering if they will. So, I mean, Chuck and I are basically the sexual tension of the EntreProgrammers. but I really like the idea.
I totally disagree. Derek, really? Do you want to get dinner?
Totally.
but I keep on thinking, I'm like, man, it's like, because we have different skill sets too, right? It's
and we tried to do this with Podcast Recorder, but we all got so busy.
Yeah.
It never worked. But I do really like the idea of something along these lines. There has to be a way for us to be able to work together in all of this. I mean, not just moral support and ideas like we share now, but at least in a small scale, somewhere soon I would like to do something along these lines.
Right.
Yeah, I think there are definitely things that we'd all have to consider.
Yeah,
You
a
said that
lot.
there's some risk involved, and ultimately I want to stay friends more than I want to be in a company with you guys.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, we could do this to a lesser degree, with the way that we collaborate with our businesses. Or the other thing is John is hiring people to do SEM and things like that, and I could use some of that, and I'm sure Derek could use some of that, and I'm sure Josh could use some of that. And
I'm sure Josh is going to be that guy eventually that does that.
So,
yeah.
what I'm thinking though is that if we all kind of shared a YouTube guy, or we all shared an SEM guy, or we all shared a resource, where even to that level, it reduces a whole bunch of inefficiency, because I don't have to go find somebody to do that kind of stuff, right? I can just take a little bit of time off of the guy that's doing John's plate, as long as it doesn't adversely affect him. And if I have a couple of minions out there in the world that are doing my stuff, and when you guys need stuff done, you can say, oh well, I need this stuff done, and I'm like, okay, well, hire my guy for a week or whatever.
Yep.
And just the ability to share resources and bolster each other's ideas and even work on each other's ideas. There's definitely some stuff there. I mean, everybody kind of piled on and helped Derek a few months ago, and that kind of stuff.
Right.
We have that level of collaboration. It's just that next level. We've got to figure out all the scary stuff to make sure that it makes sense.
Yeah, it's just the time is really the thing that because we've had these resources, right? Like I know that we can help each other out. It's just that none of us has the time.
Yeah.
Because we're so busy trying to get our own stuff going and keep it going. It's like I was wondering, that's what got me thinking. I was like, if we were all working together on a thing, would we suddenly have a lot more time? Because like we would pool the resources directly. Like there wouldn't be the pressure of, maybe it's like, well, maybe the best use of one of our times is not working on some of the things that we are working on now that we're doing to live, right? But if the paycheck's coming in because you've got 3 other people supporting you while you're building this thing that's going to contribute to the bottom line of the business, so I don't know. Yeah. It's something I've been thinking about lately. I feel like I've been approaching it from different angles. I was like, if the 4 of us had a business together, how ridiculously successful would we be, and how much stuff could we get done with all the skill sets that we've acquired? So I'm like, well, how can we do this? I mean, obviously there's different levels of inequalities as far as incomes and things like that. So that makes it complicated, but. I don't know if there's some way, imagine like just from the blogging perspective, right? Let's say we all consolidated and blogged on one blog. We could produce like at a minimum 4 articles a week.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a lot of content, right? I mean, you can have like a competitor to D-Zone or something like that. Like, it's maybe not that big, but you could produce some ridiculous levels of content and traffic and and things like that. Same thing with YouTube and
so, totally.
I don't know, and products like then someone could go and they could buy like there's a huge array of products that they could buy.
Interesting stuff to think about.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
So I've got 2 other things that I wanted to talk about. And I just remembered because I didn't find my list. The first one is I was approached by a large company in Atlanta that wants me to come out and do some training for them on how to do TDD.
Okay.
And I've done it for other companies, but basically I just had them pay my hourly rate to come out and do the work, and I'd come out and work with their developers. But I'd like to actually just, send them a bid and say, look, it's going to cost you this much.
Totally.
For 3 days plus expenses,
Yep, it's exactly what I used to do.
Yep.
And so I'm trying to figure out what that number is. It looks like it's going to be about 3 days worth of work.
$5,000 a day minimum.
Yep.
Okay.
Minimum, and probably more than that.
I saw this. Oh, I've got the link. I've got a perfect thing for you. It's that Phil Simon guy. I thought the way he had this on his website was really, really good. Let me see. I think it's him. Let me see if I can find this here. So he's got consulting, I think, or maybe it was training. Oh, maybe it was someone else. Oh, darn. I found this really good one that someone had, and they broke it down, like the pricing, and they had it based on essentially like how many people were at it, and they had a minimum.
Right.
And the way that they had priced it out, it was so awesome because like if there was like 20 people or some large number of people, then it was like $500 a person.
Yep.
And so you can see how much that is, right? That per day is like so that would allow them to do like a $10,000 a rate a day rate.
Yeah,
which is easily justified. Oh, here it is. It is here. So this is perfect.
So my rate was $1,000 a person with a minimum of 5 people. $1,000 a person a day with a minimum of 5 people, and almost invariably I got 2 days out of every client that I did training for with Backbone.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would get 10 grand plus expenses for each of the engagements that I did.
Take a look at his thing here, and he's got like, daily.
PhilSimon.com.
Yeah. And just the way where he's got the keynotes and seminars thing, based on number of attendees, types of he kind of like talks about those things, right? Which are all these points that I didn't even consider.
Yeah.
Right. And then he's got like an everything else thing that also has some really, really interesting. You can see what his daily consulting rate is, hour of remote coaching versus non-speaking conference attending fee.
Right.
I didn't even think about charging people to come to their conference, right? Like, he's got a bunch of pretty smart stuff. And webinar, 30 minutes, webinar, 60 minutes. Man, I'm way underbidding. I just did 2 webinars, and I charged an hourly rate instead of charging a flat rate like that.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
So one thing to keep in mind when you're doing training like this, you are throwing away your time if you're charging an hourly rate because of the prep work that you have to do for this.
Yeah.
There's no way anybody's ever going to pay you an hourly rate for the prep work that you do for this course, so you have to charge a flat rate fee that covers the prep work, which is why I was making 10 grand per session, per training engagement when I was doing that with Backbone, because it would take me a week, sometimes 3 or 4 weeks, to build up the material that I needed, because every single engagement that I did was customized. I had backbonetraining.net. I don't even know if that website is still alive, but I had that website up there listing the core basics of the course that I would do for companies. But every email that I got, every engagement that I did was always customized to where that company was. It was never show up, repeat a course, and go home. It was always engage with them, find out what they're doing, what their projects are, what their company is, do the upfront work to know what you're getting into with this company, with this team, with the projects that they're going to be working on, using the technology that you're training, and customizing it for that particular environment. So there's a lot of upfront work, and so your daily rate, your flat fee for this training package is going to include all of the cost of doing all of that, where you would never be able to charge for that if you did an hourly rate.
Right. One other thing that I'm considering is seeing if they'll fly me out twice. So have them fly me out for a day so I can get elbow deep in what they're doing, and then come back and actually say, okay, this is what you need. And then I'm just teaching them what they need instead of saying, okay, well, I'm gonna put this in, I'm gonna throw this out, from something that I've already got prepared.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it's possible that you can. It depends on where you want to go. See, I've been turning down almost all training now because of what Derek said. Is like, I'm not going to reuse it. Like, if I were going to get into this training business more, more thoroughly, then I would like say, okay, well, I mean, you have to evaluate for yourself. If you create the material, which is going to probably take you, like Derek said, probably like 2 to 3 weeks minimum to just. I mean, because if you're filling up like 2 days worth of training, that's it's a lot of content and exercises and all that stuff. You got to have more than enough, right? Because you got to be able to fill up the 8 hours of sitting there. So it's got to be like you got to have like 12 hours worth of stuff per day, just in case, at least your first couple of times.
Yeah.
And then, you know, but if you do like 6 of these a year of the TDD one, then it makes a lot of sense, because then, you know, you could charge like a $5,000 a day rate, or maybe even a $3,000 a day rate, and you've got the material already created. But it just, you know, I don't know. To me, I didn't like the path because it felt like a dead-end path to me, because it was capped still, right?
Yeah,
it was like I could build this training and I could be flying out and doing training, you know, all over the place with my training courses, but then it's going to take so much time and so much effort, and it doesn't scale any further. You make good money, right? I mean, you could book yourself a lot of days and make good money, but it doesn't really scale.
So there's 2 things that I tried to do when I was exiting the training realm, and I exited for the same reasons that you just mentioned, John. It couldn't scale. I could have made great money doing it, but I knew at the end of the year that if I stopped doing the training classes, well, there goes my income. Yeah, and that's not what I wanted. So the 2 things that I tried to do, I was working with a company to license my training material. I was going to produce all of the core material, the curriculum. I was going to have everything laid out in documents, and I was going to train the trainers, and that was going to be, you know, a significant amount of income, and they would license the material from me and pay me a fee for using the material, essentially, every time that they went and did training. That fell through for a lot of different reasons. There was never any bad blood between me and that company. I still really like that company, still do a lot of stuff with them time to time. The other thing that I did to get out of this is watch me code.
Right.
That's most of the original screencasts that I did for Watch Me Code were addendums to the training packages that I did for clients. I would show up at a client office knowing that I was not going to be able to cover X, Y, and Z in the 2 days that I was there, but knowing that the people at the training gig were going to need that material. So I would record it as screencasts, put it up for sale on Watch Me Code, and give the training the company that I was doing training for, I would give them copies of all of the screencasts that I had at that point as part of the package deal. Like, look, I'm going to do this training. It's going to cover all of this, but here's all these other things that you also need to know, and here's the screencasts to cover that material.
Right.
And so Watch Me Code has essentially become my training resource. It's me still doing training for companies, but I'm doing it, you know, on a shorter basis.
Yeah, and it's a scalable, and it
scales. And, you know, I can get more customers for Watch Me Code than I can get for training gigs.
Yeah, eventually. I mean, right now you'd be more profitable doing the trainings. But,
yeah, I would. But this is far less work. I put 15, maybe 20 hours a month into Watch Me Code, and I'm bringing in $3,000 a month at least.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you could book yourself maybe like a day a month, let's say.
Yeah, totally.
But again, like, but you see, where will you be in 4 years? Or let's say, where will you be in 5 years if you do that? Maybe
I stop doing the training, and then there goes my income.
Right. Maybe you get your training rate up to $8,000 a day because you're so sought after. But maybe you don't. But 5 years, where will Watch Me Code potentially be? Yeah. It could be $25,000 a month for the same amount of work.
Right.
Yeah, what I'm kind of thinking is that I like it as an opportunity to kind of solidify my thoughts around TDD.
Yep.
I like it as an opportunity to go out and, granted I'll have to do a lot of prep work, but, go out and actually, do some training, meet some people, totally. That kind of stuff. And the income doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, the income could be nice, and it'll be a great way to build material for Rails clips.
Yeah, I'm not looking at it as a career path. I'm just looking at it as, oh, okay, well, this is an opportunity that I have, and I really want to do it. So
here's my hack for training that I've come up with. I've been responding to people with that. So far, I haven't had anyone take me up on it yet, but I've been turned down a lot of things as well. So, but what I'm thinking that I'm going to do from now on is so someone says they want a 3-day training, right?
Right.
Like on automation test frameworks, I've been getting some of those. So instead of doing like 3 days of class training is a hell of a lot of work, right, Derek? It's like 3 or 4 weeks of creating the material. So what I do is I say, look, let's do this instead. I'll do 1 day of classroom training for you on the thing, and I'll mostly fill it with projects, like so that because that takes less of my training, right? I can give people, let them go and work on something, and then we'll do 1 day of me hands-on with your team, working directly with them, which is going to be more valuable than me standing up in front of there telling them, do this, do that, right? Yep. So that working on your actual project, and then 1 day meeting with management on the team and setting the future direction and helping you to chart your course. So the reason why I'm gravitating towards that approach is because, one, it cuts down the classroom training, which is the bulk of the work, which is like the hard prep work, right? Because I'm not going to recycle this and use this all the time. Right. And then 2, because that last meeting with the management team sets you up for future consulting and future trainings and working directly on them, and gives you the highest level connections that are most valuable. Yeah. And plus, it's fun to work with the team for a day. Like that's not even work, right?
I did that a number of times. There's one of the most fun engagements that I had was a company in San Francisco where I did pretty much exactly that. I actually did 2 days of training, but then I did a 3rd day of sitting down with the project leads and working with them on the actual project to help guide the real project instead of just doing the training. And it was a lot of fun. I really liked it.
It sounded like that was what they wanted anyway.
Right.
Oh, good.
All classroom time, and so So I would probably spend half of the time in the classroom and the other half of the time pairing with people on the team, and helping them evaluate what tests they already have, helping them evaluate their process. I guess they're pretty heavily Scrum, actual Scrum, not what people call Scrum, and. And so, working with them to get all of the pieces in place to make it really pay off for them to do TDD.
Nice.
But they're totally on board with adopting the practice. They need some help.
Yeah.
Getting it all together.
But also
learning the tools.
The other piece for you too, I think, is like you're saying, like you should err towards making the short-term money grabs, though, right? So, like, even if you don't want to go this direction, like, if you can make a lot of money real quick, do it, because, like you said, you're trying to buy your freedom, you're trying to pay off debts. So, short-term money grabs are good options for you right now. Would it be good options for me? Less so for Derek now, right? Because but for you with your goal, I'd say do it. Like if you've got debt that you want to pay off, then for sure.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to bring up is I was approached by PodTrac. Do you know who they are, Derek?
Yep.
So they provide free tools for podcasters, like tracking downloads and stuff like that. You just redirect through them. And the way they make their money is they actually line up sponsors for podcasts, and they approached me with a fairly large company that wants to sponsor 2 of my shows. The rub is that they want me then to start using their their redirect tracking system on my shows, so I have to add that into my feed somehow.
Yeah.
And I'm tracking those numbers myself. So I would essentially either redirect through my tracking and then through their tracking and then to the media, or I'm not really sure how to approach that, and I'm not super excited about adding a third party into the middle of how people get the media from me.
Yeah, in your situation, I don't think it would be worth it. There are some people where it might be worth it, but I'm always wary about these third-party advertising programs for podcasts. There's some people that I don't know if PodTrac was this particular company, but there are some people that have had some pretty horrendous experiences with third-party ads in podcasts. I have a blog post, pretty old one, on the Signal Leaf blog about the dangers of free hosting and the ads that get inserted into your podcast when you do free hosting, like sex toys being advertised in the middle of your podcast, and you have no control over it. And I seriously doubt that PodTrac was the company. But whoever this free podcast hosting company was way back then, it was pretty awful and got some people in trouble.
Yeah.
And
they're looking at actually working with me on my terms.
Yeah. So there are
tracking.
Right. There are some pretty good companies out there that are doing things like this. Actually, both Libsyn and Blueberry have advertising networks that they sell, which is, I think, where they make, which is how they pay for the bandwidth. You know, the problem that I'm having with Signal Leaf is how do I pay for the bandwidth of these really popular podcasts, and that's how Blueberry and Libsyn do it, is through their advertising networks that they control. And with them, it's all about the mutually beneficial relationship. Both the advertiser and the podcast have to agree to the arrangement for the individual advertisement in the podcast. And I know the name PodTrac. I've heard them talked about a number of times, and they clearly have some pretty big name shows that work with them. So they are without a doubt a legit company. But I don't know if it would make sense in your situation, given all of the things that you're trying to build and trying to do with FeedWrench and with devchat.tv and everything else that you've got going on. It might not make sense because they want you to do, they want you to redirect through their services and do all of the things that you're trying to build.
Right.
Before I chime in, let's talk money. Don't say the name of but how much will this sponsor potentially pay you?
It was in the neighborhood of, so for 3 months, it was in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 grand. That's why I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
And if they can line up more of because that's why I wanted to ask that question first, because my immediate off-the-cuff advice to you was going to say, you just need to hire a media buyer, like a media seller person, because you've got enough podcasts that you need a full-time person that just does nothing but they're a good salesperson. They contact potential sponsors, they negotiate the things, they take care of all that for you and get you the best price.
I would so hire somebody like that.
You can find them for sure. There are people who do this, definitely, right? Because they're the same people who work for magazine companies and get ads put in them, right? It's the same skill set. So there's definitely people who do this, and they work on commission usually. I'm sure you can find them, but I don't know, would they be able to do better for you than this? Because if you're talking like $5,000 a month potentially.
Well, PodTrac is a company that does exactly what you just described.
Yes.
They are the media buyers. They
but
line up the advertisements and.
Right, but what I'm saying is, it's like they are doing it as a service, right? Mm-hmm. And you got to imagine their margin is probably somewhere around 30%, maybe 50%. Who knows what it is? But if you hired someone that's just working for you doing this, they might be able to, their margin is going to be much smaller, or they could just be your full-time employee, or whatever it is. But when you're talking, I don't know, to me. There's risk involved with hiring someone to do it for you.
Right.
If PodTrac is just going to land like $5,000 a month into your lap for sponsorships for one sponsor, to me that's, I don't know. That's
on 2 shows.
It's on 2 shows.
Yeah, across 2 shows. Okay, and I would assume that they are going to say, okay, you have to use our sponsorships in your shows only, nothing else.
Yeah, I'm not going to do any exclusivity deals, and I don't think they're looking for that. I think they're just looking for this one company, and that company approached PodTrac to approach me, and I didn't quite get why. But
they may have a deal with PodTrac.
Yeah,
they may have used PodTrac for others.
Well, it could be easier for them too. That's the other thing is like, will you get access to people who will not directly? Because, this is probably the problem we have with EntreProgrammers too. Is it's like, is it really worth someone at this big company's time to like deal with individually setting up payments for us and stuff, right? It's like if they had some kind of service where they can just like it's just handled for them and they don't have to negotiate directly with the podcast host and all this, then maybe that's so you might have access. I don't know. Like I would look at it and say, not what will this one deal bring to me, but are they likely to bring you like is this a one-off, or will they be able to bring you like can they bring you like 3 other sponsors or 4 other sponsors that are similar in price? Maybe not this high, but I mean, what if that's worth like $15,000 a month or $10,000 to $15,000 a month in sponsorship, and you don't have to do crap because it's automatically landing in your lap, and you don't have to negotiate and you don't have to do all this stuff.
And the other question to ask is the money that they could bring in for you worth delaying you building out the things that you were trying to build already? Because you're going to end up setting some of those things aside because you don't need them anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
But you shouldn't. I don't think you should like build a thing like because you need it. Like I don't know how to phrase this, but I don't think that should influence your. You shouldn't rely on a thing so that you can build it. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a lot of work to add it in, because the way the PodTrac links work is essentially it's just like podtrac.com/whatever their endpoint is for the redirects, and then hang on,
right,
and then you just specify what the URL is that it has to pass through on.
Yeah,
and so there's no real fancy trick to it, but if their system goes down, then people can't get their media.
Yeah, I've seen people do this though. I've seen people stack Blueberry stats on top of Libsyn. I mean, it sounds crazy. I mean, it kind of is crazy because Blueberry and Libsyn both give great stats, but I've seen people hosting media on Libsyn and passing it through the Blueberry stats tracker in order to get to Libsyn.
Yeah, but all I have to do is modify the endpoint on my tracking redirect.
Right.
Yeah, PodTrac is not going to go down.
Yeah,
I mean, look at the podcasts that they've got on there, like This American Life and Serial.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It won't even go down for a minute.
I mean, those 3 alone, This American Life, Serial, and Freakonomics.
Oh, that's true.
Those are like the 3 of the top 10 podcasts in the world, right there.
Yeah. Man, man, should we sign up EntreProgrammers to this?
Seriously,
should we?
That's actually a really good idea.
Right? Are we big enough? I mean, maybe we're not.
That's a good question. Maybe we're not.
I think it depends. So, I mean, if somebody's looking for that particular brand of, our particular brand of show, to sponsor, then we may get on their radar and we may be able to negotiate something.
Well, this is one of your podcasts, right? So we're
yeah.
But I mean, if you're already in with 5 of them, you could probably kick us in there too, even if we wouldn't necessarily meet the requirements for the audience size.
Yeah.
Something to think about. Not that we should. I mean, obviously, we're not going to make a lot of money off of this podcast, unless we grow ridiculously tall. But I don't know. I'm now leaning very much towards you doing the PodTrac thing, just because it's. I mean, the name of the shows that are these big shows are using it. They're already offering you like a big amount of money to start off, and I mean, okay. Here's okay. Now I've got a slam dunk answer for you. Okay, how much time a month do you spend managing sponsorships right now?
4 or 5 hours.
Okay, so 4 or 5 of your own hours, and how much money do you pay for any help with that, or do you not?
Probably a few $100s, if that. Just with sometimes I have to have Vandy do stuff. but I do most of the sponsorship stuff myself.
Okay. And it's just 4 or 5 hours worth of work. Okay, maybe it's not as slam dunk. So it wouldn't probably be worth hiring someone to do that for you. I mean, because they might be able to generate you bigger sponsors.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what's your total sponsorship revenue? Just revenue, not profit.
Per month?
Yeah, around.
So I had a bunch of sponsors sign up in August for a year-long sponsorship.
So just divide that by 12.
Right. So let me think here. I mean, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of probably $8,000.
Okay, so you have the potential of one source bringing in more than 50% of that. Now, okay, here's the piece of the equation though. You've got people that sign up for a year.
Yeah,
right?
I've raised the rates though, so new sponsors are paying more.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that you're only having to do 4 to 5 hours a month worth of work right now because you've got these long-term sponsors. But when they turn over, you'll have to do new work to get new sponsors potentially.
Possibly.
I don't know.
I have a feeling that some of them are going to stick around. They've been around for a long time. They like supporting the shows. I know that some of them are actually, making money off of the ads, which is what I want. So, yeah, it just depends. I mean, if they're happy with the sponsorship message, the banners on the website, because that's what I spend my time on, is, generating the media that goes up on the website. So.
Oh, I see. Okay. I don't know. I'm still leaning towards the PodTrac. I still feel like it brings you extra revenue without much work for you.
That's kind of what I kind of got to with you guys talking about it, was just that, I mean, I could add the redirect into my tracking system, so that it redirects, so they hit devchat.tv or media.devchat.tv / whatever it is to get to the media. Instead of redirecting directly to Cashfly, it would redirect to PodTrac, which would send them to Cashfly.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that would probably be 10 minutes, 20 minutes of work, tops, to get that in there. And then they have the numbers to go back and find other sponsors. And if they're not finding me sponsors, then I can still keep doing what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm going to have to do that work anyway. The time I spend finding sponsors is almost nil, and that is because most sponsors now are coming to me. So. Right.
So, okay, yeah. See, that makes sense. And as long as you're not assigning an exclusivity, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I just got approached. I just actually had a similar scenario. I just got approached by buysell.ads.com, right? They're a big media, and they're like, we want to, we've got some people that want to advertise on Simple Programmer. And then I said, well, what's your overhead, right? Because obviously everyone makes money in business. And I read their first email, and their overhead was something like, I want to say it was 30%. Like I'll kind of bring up the thing, but it came up to like this point where they're like, for a newsletter, they could get someone to sponsor my newsletter for $270 to $360, but then they charge a 25% commission on the ads, and then they're like, for display ads, they could get me $600 a month if it was sold out, like per ad unit, and again charging 25%. But then when I realized it, I was like, well, even if you take out their commission and stuff, I'll still be making more money than I would be.
Right.
Right.
Well,
so
I got the impression from PodTrac that they were going to get me what I was asking for, and then take their overhead on top of that.
Above that, yeah.
So
if they're giving you I guess that's the.
So if they're giving me what I'm asking for, then it tells me two things. One, I could probably raise the rate of the sponsorship again.
Yep.
And it also tells me that, if they can get me that money, then I don't care what they're getting on top of it.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, ultimately, like with this situation, like the conclusion that I'd come up with, at least in my case, was just like if they are bringing you more money than what you have, if you have ads that aren't filled, then it's a no-brainer. Like,
right.
and then if they can fill ads that will bring you more money for that space, then who cares what the
Right.
So. Interesting. That's a good opportunity, though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only other thing I'd weigh it against is like, honestly, if you thought that you hired someone to like just go out and do this for you and try to get the highest dollar negotiated ad, maybe it's worth throwing that out. Maybe it's worth putting a job out on Odesk and interviewing a few people and saying, hey, what could you do with this? Like, or finding someone experienced and that does this freelance or Elancer or something like that, and
Right.
And just say, and maybe they're like, oh, I could get you Microsoft or
Right.
I don't know, or they're like, I could get you $5,000 per month per podcast.
Right.
Right.
Maybe it's worth like not spending a whole lot of time, but just to see, because if this company is willing to pay to get you so much, then maybe maybe you don't even know how much it's worth. I don't know.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but the other thing is, I mean, you hear so many different numbers about, how many CPM or how much CPM and how much this and how much that you can get for a, whatever size podcast. But I think it really depends on the podcast, the level of engagement they have with their audience, and how much those customers are worth to the company that's advertising on there. So
yeah, and remember, not everyone is advertising for direct conversion advertising, right? Because brand awareness is where most of the advertising budget in advertising in general is spent. It's spent on brand awareness. When you
and podcasts are way better at that than they are at the direct conversion.
Totally.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's so hard to get someone to click or to type in. They can't even click. They have to type in a URL. Right. But how many times have you heard of 99 Design? I mean, and Audible.com, right?
Audible,
every freaking podcast you listen to, right?
Audible.
So when you go and look for, like the idea is going to pop in your head, you're going to go to Audible. Like you can't directly attribute, but because they've increased brand awareness, so
yeah.
That's yeah. So for people that are listening to our podcast, I want to.
Yeah, there we go.
Alrighty.
All right, guys. I need to get going here. I got a hard day of watching movies ahead of me. So.
Oh man, life's rough.
It is. Actually, I'm not feeling terribly well, which is really why I want to go. I think that my allergies exploded this week after the stress started dying down. So.
All right.
I wanted you to say that they literally exploded.
Well.
Anyway.
Oh, I've got one last statement to make.
Okay.
Piracy. I do not condone piracy. I do not support piracy. Yes, I know that I said that occasionally I download a movie, but it's a bad and wrong thing to do. Okay?
Oh, no.
I just want people to understand that, like, we're transparent on this podcast, right? That means that, we all do things we shouldn't do. But that doesn't mean that we're condoning them and saying that they're right. We're just being transparent because I think the value of being transparent. So I just want to say, because someone had tweeted me and they're like, I can't believe you would support piracy. Should I put your courses online and for someone to torrent them? And I just wanted to say that, like, I'm not saying piracy is a good thing. I'm saying that if you want to avoid piracy, you've got to basically make it easy for people to buy the crap that they want to buy, because in general, people will buy stuff if you make it,
make it easier for people to buy the stuff than to pirate it.
Exactly.
That's as simple as that.
Yeah, that's the ultimate solution. So anyway, just wanted to clear the air that I'm not saying that you should go out and pirate stuff. I'm not saying that it's okay to do piracy. Piracy is not, I'm obviously not in support of it, but I am not in support of super crackdown on it as well. If you want to solve it, you solve it by making things easier for people to buy and more palpable, right? So anyway, just want to clear the air.
Yeah.
All right.
What's our thoughts for the day?
Thoughts for the day. Oh, good question.
Pirates are better than people. I love all the implications of that.
Yeah.
So I have a thought. Mostly what I've been thinking about this week, it has been about what to say no to. I had the opportunity to, I had a local school, they teach people to program, and I think they're accredited, but they wanted me to come in and teach some courses, and they're in downtown Salt Lake, which is like a 45-minute drive. It's an hour drive during rush hour. And, you know, I started looking at the stuff that I wanted, that I would have had to give up to do it, and realized immediately that I wasn't willing to give up those things. And I'm starting to realize, too, that some of the things that I say yes to because I want to do are also things that I should be saying no to. So I keep hearing this, and I'm going to start doing it, and that is that if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. In other words, if it's not like a total slam dunk win, then it's a no.
Right.
Yep. I'm laughing because I just said that exact phrase last night.
Nice.
So
There's this blog post on it. Did you read that blog post about the? It was actually an FVS, but
Right.
yeah.
But John, what's your thought?
mine is.
Something about piracy. It's
Arr!
Fine, I'll make it simple. Piracy is wrong. That's
There you
my
go.
thought.
That's your thought.
Good thought,
Okay.
matey.
What's yours, Derek?
It's okay to take a break.
Yes.
I'm taking the day off. Yeah, okay, not the whole day. I did some work this morning, but it was really quick. Got it done. I'm watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's my afternoon. I started watching it just before we got on to record this. It's okay to take a break. Sometimes you really do need to take a break.
Yeah, but John hates TV.
Yeah.
But I do watch it occasionally. Only when I pirate the movies, then I watch it. Right.
Right.
Real quick, Chuck, since you mentioned it, I'm actually listening to the audio version of the book Essentialism, which I don't know if you heard of that book, but it's exactly what you're describing.
I got to check that out.
It's been pretty popular lately.
Wonderful.
Yeah. I also recommend for anyone, listen to 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I listened to it
Totally.
twice. Out. Awesome.
It's such a great book.
So, yeah, Quadrant 2. That's where we got to be. So, all right.
Right.
All right, guys. See you next time.
Wanna start a business but you just know how to code? Listen to the EntreProgrammers and we'll teach you straight up to be developers.